Morning, Ellery Jones. Morning, dear heart. Morning, all you lovely, lovely people that are always here for us, and vice versa. I was just saying over on Instagram, thank you so much for a daily basis relationship that we all have going here now. It's just so lovely, and so many of you sent so many lovely messages yesterday after the Matt and Emma Willis documentary, saying how you'd watched it, thinking of me and Mark, and thinking about, you know, the stuff we've been through. So if this is your first time joining this channel, you might already wonder, what the hell is this woman talking about? I came here for the Harry and Meghan, or I came here for addiction. And so basically every day, Monday through to Saturday, we have this live show, Coffee Moaning. My husband's usually here with me, but he's got to do something else this morning. And we do the news. We often go for the big headlines. We often go for the little headlines that nobody else is looking at. We chat about stuff that is affecting us and our lives. And we have a real community going on here. And so when something like the documentary that went out yesterday comes up, and you guys know so much about our life already because my husband's 18 years sober, and the documentary yesterday was very much about addiction and relapse. So I'm just really wanting to say a big thank you for all your lovely, lovely messages. They meant a lot, and lots on Instagram. So yeah, thank you for that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, the documentary, a bit later. But first of all, I just wanted to talk to you about Harry and Meghan. But before I say anything about what I think, because I've been on a real journey with what I've thought about this. Hang on one second, my dog's making a strange... Oh, she's snoring. My dog's making a really weird noise. I've been on a real journey with this since... So yesterday, the first that we heard about this, Maddie, was it Maddie? Maddie and I were in the kitchen, and Mark read out a headline. And it was, Meghan and Harry involved in a near catastrophic car accident chased by paparazzi. Well, I mean, we literally screamed. We were like, Jesus, oh my God, what? I mean, I was really, really shocked, horrified. This was my very first reaction, and Maddie. And you know how hard it is to get reactions out of young people. We were like, what the hell? And yeah, you know, I felt like shaky inside. I just couldn't believe it. It was really interesting because as I heard that, and as I felt that all the thoughts and all the things that have been said about Harry and Meghan and the documentary, everything was sort of flashing in front of my eyes, all the times that they've said that they felt unsafe, all that stuff came through my mind in split seconds. And I was thinking, oh my God, because at that point, I thought that they had been in an accident, near catastrophic. So my brain's just calibrating. This is all in seconds. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, they've been in an accident. They've been hurt, but they're not dead. That's what I was thinking, near catastrophic. But they're definitely in, and it was just awful, absolutely awful. And then, you know, we read into the story, and then got a 2-hour chase in New York. And it was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, first of all, before I go on to what I've been on since, been on this kind of a journey with it since, where are you all at with it? What did you all think? What were you feeling? I'm fascinated to know. I know the police officer said it wasn't near catastrophic, though it was chaotic. How often do these people try and talk down these situations? Happened to Diana. Elsa Pop, sorry to say I don't believe them. Okay, so Elsa, when you say you don't believe them, because I'm really interested in this, because I've been through all of this sort of thinking, what is it that you don't believe? So remember, this was their private secretary, I believe, who made this statement. Yeah, was made the statement. Harry's letting it. Yes, it was. It was their private secretary who made the statement. That will have been approved, I'm sure, by Harry and Meghan. At first, I thought it was history repeating itself, says Chrissy. Sue, I thought of his mother. Yeah, we all did. Stopped in my tracks, Leanne, exactly. We were stopped in our tracks. I feel like they're trying to prove a point, says somebody there. Who says that? Sorry, I can't get this up on the computer, so I'm having to read it on the screen. It's going so fast. Piers interviewed some people. Okay, so this is a good point here. Piers Morgan interviewed some people, said New York too busy for a car chase. Right, okay. Dear Heart, I literally have no interest. And Illing, they're making another documentary. First documentary had them looking terrified in the car with no one chasing them. Okay, it's a publicity show. Christine Brett, it's terrible. Charmaine, absolutely ridiculous. Harry and Meghan blowing the situation out of control and using it in comparison to Diana. It shows they didn't plan the evening well. Okay. I'm just so sad for them. The whole thing must be so triggering, says Elizabeth Gordon. Folks really hate Meghan that much. Helen Groves, it must have been so scared because of what they did to his mum. Okay, so it's really interesting because all these things that you're talking about and feeling are all the different moments that Mark and I have had since yesterday. I didn't look into it too much yesterday. Sort of saw, oh, they're all okay. That's good. Thought a bit like 2 hour chase, having known New York, 2 hour chase in New York. Can you have a 2 hour? Because when I think of New York, I think of New York City and I think of just things crawling along. So I was like, you know, a bit sort of, yeah, I was querying that. But then we got really involved with the big documentary last night and I didn't really sort of think about it again. Anyway, so this morning, Mark said to me, oh, so God, you know, here we go. Here's all this stuff now about Harry and Meghan. It's massive. And I said, oh God, where are we at with it? He said, well, typical. Piers Morgan is the first person who's got an interview with the driver. Okay, so what's the driver saying? Well, the driver's saying it really wasn't. New York is a very safe place. And he didn't feel like there was any danger. So that's a lot of the headlines. So then we were into, oh my God, really? Oh, geez. And then police officer had said, you know, I'm sure I would have been aware if there'd been a 2 hour chase. And then I'm back to like, oh my God, is this something that's just been totally over dramatized because they're having to back up what they've already said? Anyway, you drill into it. And I have to say, a lot of the reporting, because Mark was looking through it, sort of sieving it all for us this morning, it is confusing. It is actually very confusing, the story. Because the taxi driver who Piers Morgan spoke to only had them in the car for 10 minutes, having picked them up from the precinct where they had been dropped off. So he was the one, he said, you know, I think it's been exaggerated and all of this, but he wasn't actually the person who was driving them initially, because initially they were in a limousine, having come back from having left this do where Meghan had won this award. Where is it? So, hang on, I'm just looking for the order of events here. So it seems that what happened was they left this event in this limousine, 3 of them, and things were, you know, I mean, even one of the paparazzi said things were chaotic. Okay, so we're not going to know the exact detail of this, but their private secretary said she's never seen them so terrified. Okay, so at what level do we think it's justified to be terrified? Okay, so the other day, Jane Moore was driving and we were coming home from our weekend away, and we were on the motorway and it wasn't very particularly busy. And suddenly Jane was like, oh, I had to turn the car because an elderly guy had sort of just moved in and was going to come in. He was about this far away from us. At no point were we in real danger because Jane's a great driver and she pulled it out of the way. But I tell you what, for about she's a much more cooler cucumber than me. For about 5 minutes afterwards, my heart was just going. I was just thinking, oh my God, what could have happened? What could have happened there? I mean, if then we would have gone. So I got thinking about that this morning. I was thinking, so imagine, so we don't know how many people were chasing them. We don't know how many paparazzi. So at what point is it okay for you to be scared? One, would people say, nah, that's not really scary. One person chasing you and taking photographs and flat. Two, maybe. Three, 10. I don't know, 10, you know, they had security. Yeah, but what about if you're being chased and your mother has been killed in exactly the same situation? Does that ratchet up the fear for you a bit? So I've been having all these conversations with myself, and in the end I was like, yeah, I'd be fucking terrified. I would be really, really terrified. I think that it's really, really easy to sit back, isn't it, and think, what, you know, I mean, nothing was going to happen. But if you haven't actually been sat in that car being chased with cameras going off, because if somebody's taking a photo of you and they're on a motorbike, how in control are they of their vehicle? But where I think it's gone so wrong is near catastrophic. Those words, and I don't know what you think about that, near catastrophic. And Mark and I were really drilling into it because we really want to understand this and see from all sides. Can something be near catastrophic? I think that little bit there, near catastrophic, is what is giving people the opportunity, and even people that aren't against every single thing Harry and Meghan do, pause to go, near catastrophic? I mean, catastrophic, when we heard that, we heard what we'd heard when Diana died, didn't we? So like we said, we were all stopped in our tracks. Catastrophic is that, you know, somebody was really badly injured or in fact dead. So that's where we all went to with those words. And so then when that wasn't the case, when nobody had been hurt, but from where they were sitting, it was possible that they all could have died. So when they say near catastrophic, that's what they were feeling when they were in the car. Anne-Marie said, so near is the main word. What Ellen, I was once in a taxi in New York and was in tears coming out, and there was no one chasing us. I've been in cars, right, Morocco, where I was crying in the car because I was so scared by the other drivers driving around. Another time when I was in Morocco and I was doing a movie out there, and we were coming down one of these like curly mountains, and the guy was driving like a fucking maniac, and I couldn't talk to him, and it was nighttime, and in fact, in the end, I got down into the well of the car and just sat in the fetal position, praying to my family because I thought I was going to die. And so I think, whatever you think about Harry and Meghan, and there's lots of stuff that I don't agree with and I feel dubious about and all of that, I actually now have come to the conclusion, having been all over the place with this and thought, is this over-dramatized? I've actually come to the place now where I think they were terrified. I genuinely think they were terrified, and I can understand why they were. I mean, what happened was they were in this car, the 2 hours thing, that was the other thing. I was like, 2 hours? How can there be a car chase for 2 hours and nobody's rung a police officer and said we're being pursued and we're in fear of our lives? But apparently what happened was they drove to the precinct, and then they got out of the car. Then discussions happened, we don't know what, and then they got a cab to take them where they were going to next. Then this is the cab driver that Piers Morgan spoke to, and the cab driver said nobody was in any danger at any point. But 10 minutes into the journey, there were paps again, filming them and taking photographs. And then their security guy wasn't happy with that again and made the cab turn round and take them back to the precinct. And, you know, PTSD is a thing. And to lose your mother in that way, so horrifically, so publicly, to then be as a small child, you know, following, or we'll never forget that funeral and everything. And then you've got your precious wife you absolutely adore and her mother, children at home. It's going to feel near catastrophic, isn't it? I mean, that's where I've arrived at now. What do you think? 100% PTSD, Pink Lady, it was near miss, but the situation was that the miss had not been a miss. It would have been catastrophic, exactly. So do you think, because, you know, the thing is that, I can't remember now who it was it their private secretary, again, I don't know, so I'm not going to say who it was, had said, you know, these photographs that paparazzis get and the spread of them and magazines and newspapers buying them is what perpetuates this kind of behaviour. Now, where have we heard that before? With the Diana situation, you know, we've heard that before. Are we going to learn any lessons? And so maybe the strength of the statement was trying to get people to understand that we could have a catastrophic situation again like we did with Princess Diana. Exactly, Anne-Marie. Has Piers Morgan ever been chased by photographers? Cheers, Piers Morgan. Don't get me started on Piers Morgan. Because I have to, no, I just can't say what I think of Piers Morgan. But, yeah. Elizabeth Gordon. Yeah, I think Harry does need UK protection. Oh, sorry, let me see if I can get this on here. I just can't get the comments on here and I'm having real trouble seeing it. Mark was going to set this up for me, but he didn't quite. No, I can't do it. Dawny Harvey, PTSD. I've been in catastrophic accidents. Things trigger it, but you wouldn't go through 2 hours of fear. You'd stop before that. Well, this is what we don't really know the detail of yet, do we? We don't know whether police were trying to get involved because there was, hang on a minute, just bear with me a second. Oh, I keep getting all these bloody notifications that aren't letting me get to my, hang on a second. Okay, let me look at this. 1 second. So 2 New York police officials played down the incident, saying they do not believe the chase was near catastrophic, but it was a chaotic scene. But that's from his position. If you're not in the car with that history, with those flashing lights going into your face, so you're not quite sure what's happening, you could feel that that was extremely dramatic. New York's Mayor Eric Adams has said 2 police officers could have been injured as they assisted Harry and Meghan's private security team while their car was being followed. So there were 2 police officers with the security team. So this is from their spokesperson. This relentless pursuit lasting over 2 hours resulted in multiple near collisions involving other drivers on the road, pedestrians and 2 NYPD officers. So this is, again, where people are drilling into, and I kind of understand that. It says a relentless 2 hours. But the thing is, they did stop, they did get out of the car, they went into the precinct, they got into another taxi, and that's all within those 2 hours. So I think that's another... I think the statement has really fired people up in the wrong way, because actually I do think they probably went through a very terrifying experience last night. And the problem is that because the statement is a little bit, it's sort of taken away the sympathy for the situation. Again, Deputy Commissioner of New York says there were numerous photographers that made their transport challenging. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex arrived at their destination and there was no reported collisions, summonses, injuries or arrests, which of course the likes of Piers Morgan will absolutely leap on. But that doesn't mean that it didn't feel like there was going to be collisions and there was going to be deaths, because I would not like to be chased by one person on a motorbike holding their motorbike with one hand and photographing into the car. And also the paparazzi, a couple of them have said it was chaotic, it was a bit bonkers. Now, Buckingham Palace haven't made a comment, and some of the papers are saying, you know, no, Buckingham Palace haven't contacted the Sussexes, but we don't know that. We don't know that. How do we know that it hasn't been the case that their spokesperson hadn't contacted the palace and say, look, we're going to make a statement just so you know they're totally fine. They were in this horrible situation, but they're totally fine and nothing bad's happened. So the palace wouldn't have to contact them because they already know. You see how you can play tricks with your journalism? Because the facts are they haven't actually contacted them, but maybe that's because they were contacted before the statement was made. So again, we don't know. And they're not going to make a statement because why would they? Just checking there was something else. Yeah, what happened on the streets of Manhattan, a world away from royal life, shows us two significant things. Firstly, there remains a clamouring media interest in the couple, with paparazzi hunting and hounding them. And secondly, perhaps more worryingly, they are prepared to do so whatever the risks. This is world correspondent Laura Bundock. And I think that's why the statement felt dramatic, because I think within their circle it was dramatic, and they want to put the fear of God into publications that buy these photographs from the paparazzi, because the more they buy them, the more it's perpetuated, the faster the chases get. All round, bit horrible. Oh, the car chase comes after a man was reportedly arrested outside their home for stalking in the early hours of Monday morning. So if you add that to the thing as well, because the stalking is, you know, a petrifying thing. It doesn't just happen to celebrities. In fact, it happens like on a massive scale. So, and I know some people here before we have conversations about stalking, makes you absolutely, you know, leaves you terrified about everything that's going on in your life. So if you add that to it. So in conclusion, where I am at now with this, having gone, oh my God, has this been over dramatized? Oh my God. No, first of all, thinking, oh my God, they're dead. That was my first thought. Then like a bit of a roller coaster to like, oh, they've over-dramatized it. They're trying to do, is there another book coming out? I have now settled upon, I think they had a hugely traumatic, terrifying experience. I think the statement was skewed so that the world would listen, and that hopefully these kind of pursuits will become fewer and fewer because publications refuse to buy the photos. But I doubt very much that that is going to happen. Yeah. So, there we have it. Elizabeth agrees with me. Good summary, says Dawny. The statement from Backgrid, the paparazzi people say one of the photographers were on a bicycle. How fast were they cycling on New York City traffic jams? Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's going to be speculation about this forever, isn't it? This will be another one of those stories where new things will keep coming to light and we'll be swinging one way and swinging the other way. But one thing I do think, I passionately do believe, is this man now had a hugely traumatic thing happen to him at a young age. He lost his mother in the most horrendous of ways, and that is never going to leave you. So, yeah. Right. Oh my God. we've nearly finished. So I just wanted to just touch on last night's documentary yesterday, the Matt Willis one on addiction. And first of all, how many, but can't do a poll. Just say yes or no. How many of you saw it last night? Exactly, Ted. We can judge each other too easily. And it is something I jump to, actually, quite often. I can be quite judgy, but I try more and more as I've got older to then reel myself back in and just think of all the different situations and put myself in the shoes of the person. And talking of that, segues nicely into the documentary yesterday, because I think it was a massively important documentary last night. I was really shocked, surprised, heartwarmed by it, because I really didn't know what to expect after my anger of the ADHD documentary the other night. I was like, please don't let this just be something that like half does something. Obviously, I know I've worked with Emma Willis very briefly. I wouldn't say at all that I know Emma Willis, because I don't, but she's, I've seen her around the corridors of ITV studios over the years, always just gone, every time I've seen her, gone, oh my Jesus Christ, to myself, can anyone be that beautiful? She is shockingly, when people say stunning, this is what I was saying to Mark. She literally stunned me. The first time I ever saw her about 20 years ago, I was stunned, like stopped in my tracks, because she was just so like, bzzz. And she's with the cool set, and she's very cool, and she's like always got the right clothes on, and she's sort of, she walks around and she's very lovely, and everyone always says, oh, Emma's so lovely. And I've just always thought, lovely Emma, perfect life, massive house, great career, stunningly beautiful, 3 beautiful children, knew that her husband had a stint in rehab, so I felt a bit of a connection there, I suppose. I remember even once saying to her backstage, it's really hard, isn't it, with having a partner with alcohol. I mean, just like, because we've been talking about alcohol, that was right, on the show, and I'd said, oh God, sometimes it'd be really nice to just have a drink with them, wouldn't it? Like that. And I remember her just going, no, because it was so awful. And I thought, oh my God, I really misjudged that. And I remember cringing afterwards, thinking, shit. But I didn't really know why I felt that. Well, last night's documentary made it all very, very clear, because, oh my God, my heart, and Mark said, broke for her in every single frame. And it's just another reminder that we can look at people and have no idea what kind of private hell they're going through. And Matt as well, adored them both. I thought it was a beautifully made documentary. It was truthful. It was just vulnerable. It was, you think most of the time they were just sort of in their house, a lot of the time, just kind of talking, and we didn't hear anything. There was a hint at Matt's difficult childhood. There were moments when they spoke about how difficult it was with their relationship. It was edited in a way that nothing was too salacious. And do you know what? You didn't need it to be either. Because what they did say spoke absolute volumes, I think. And it was really nice, because I've never really seen anything where it was really went into the terror of relapse. For the person, Matt, Matt, I wish I could just give you the biggest hug and say, you're just lovely, struggling so much. But also for the partner of a person, an addict, and how terribly difficult it is for them. And it was also very validating for Mark and I. Actually said to Mark this morning, because they've gone through his journey in a very different way. Like, for them, it felt right not to talk about it, and Emma felt very much like she was through the actual active addiction, and she didn't really want to talk about it, and she didn't, because she almost like she just wanted to put it in the past. And very differently from how Mark and I have done it, because I went into the family when Mark was in rehab. I went in for the family day once a week, which was incredibly grueling, embarrassing. You talk about everything, you know. As I said last night in our review, I'd not long been out of a couple of years out of EastEnders, so I was still very like people, like everybody knew my face, and so we'd be in these group settings and we'd be talking about these really personal things, and everyone would be listening to every detail, and it was incredibly hard. It really was. And I questioned it a bit afterwards. Then when Mark came out of rehab, I had so much rage and we had so many like arguments, and I would just like all this stuff that I put up with, not put up with, I don't want to say that, because all the stuff that I'd experienced through his drinking and through his white knuckling and all of that all came out when he went to rehab. And we, you know, we fought and we discussed, and actually our podcast and here talking with you guys, we've gone into it with real depth. I also went to Al-Anon. We talk in a group setting about what's gone on for you. And you know what? In this documentary yesterday, you saw her go for the very first time. And they've been married a similar amount of time, 18 years, 20 years, us. There's the same age gap. Emma is 7 years older than Matt, like me and Mark. So there's an awful lot of similarities. I'll tell you in a minute, Nicole, what white knuckling. White knuckling is trying just not to drink without looking at any of the stuff that's going on. So somebody that just stops drinking without getting any therapy or any AA or anything, what happens is they're only medicating terrible feelings. So what happens is all those terrible feelings come up. So it can be like you as the partner of the addict can almost be saying, just have a bloody drink. I can't take this, because it all rises up when you take away the whatever the substance is. So that's called white knuckling. So yeah, so they had a very different route to us. You know, and even us talking here often about it and stuff. And so I just felt like really comforted in the fact that Mark and I had done it that way. Because what I saw last night in Emma was, oh my God, I mean, when she was crying, didn't she just break your heart? Because they've not spoken about it because they couldn't bear to. So it's almost like all the glass, the fragile glass is still in there. You know, whereas I feel like I've exorcised so much of it, of what was going on inside of me, because it's so hard, isn't it, when you really love somebody, but they're going through that stuff. And there was a line that she said towards the end, which was that addiction is part of Matt, and I love Matt. And that's exactly how I feel about Mark, you know. And so a person can have all these behaviours when they're an active addict or even when they're white knuckling, and yet you can still not, of course, this isn't the same for all addicts. Some people are just a fucking nightmare and you need to kick them to the curb, but it's very hard when you know that that person is deeply a really, really wonderful person that is suffering terribly and medicating with drink or drugs, because you can't throw them out. You can't say that's it, because you're seeing somebody in incredible pain. And I think they both, as a couple, illustrated that so fantastically. And I think also what was so good about it is that you saw that actually all the way through his sobriety and his fear of relapsing, he wasn't addressing what the root cause was, you know, which was for him. And it doesn't, something terrible doesn't have to happen to be self-medicated. But for him, it was a really difficult childhood that he just hadn't wanted to go into. And for them as a couple, they'd been too scared to talk about it because they didn't want to trigger it and for it all to happen again. So I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your messages, because we've really felt the love. And friends of mine messaged me this morning and said, oh God, you know, we just had no idea that that's what it's like, because for the partner of, because obviously there's a lot of secrecy. You're covering up for the person that you love that's got those issues. And that's one of the big things they make you talk about. In rehab, they make you get all that shame and guilt out so that you're not ashamed and guilty, and therefore then use a substance to cover up the fact that you're feeling shame and guilt. So, yeah, Yeah. So I just wanted to put that out there, and for anyone that is struggling, watch the documentary, and also, you know, watch the review that we did of it yesterday, because I think, you know, we just didn't talk about it. We just watched it and straight away did a live, and it was just, I just think it was, yeah, for people that might be struggling, I think it might be helpful. That's all. Anyway, lots of love. Big, big hugs. Oh, guys, tomorrow on Instagram, I'm doing a live roots and cooking. Because I always do my own roots. Like, look at that. People are always saying to me, God, I find it so hard to do it myself. So I'm going to do a live. So if you're wanting to do your roots, get yourself some colour, and we can do live roots together. And then when I'm waiting for the dye to take action, I'm going to cook a really easy dish. So and I'm going to make myself a little Friday cocktail. We're going to have a bit of music. Dina's coming over, so it'll be roots, cooking, rum and roots. So if you're thinking of doing your roots, get yourself whatever colour, whatever you like to use. You do it every 3 weeks, so unique. I do that. I do the spray. I've got spray on it at the front. And do your roots with me tomorrow, live. I'm not sure what time yet. I think it's going to be about 7 o'clock-ish. So join me, yeah? Live on Instagram at Nadia Sawalha. I will be uploading the live afterwards, not on Instagram, but here on YouTube if you can't make the live. Yeah, so get your box dye and let's have a Friday night, girls' night in, and do our roots. Yeah? See ya.